I'd like to call together the Human Resource Committee. The members are all here and we have Randy and Steve and Allie and Brian and Randy. So approval of agenda, please.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I received no comments on public comments, and so I don't think anyone else did.
No.
All right, then we maybe want to move into close with a,
Motion to move into closed section.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, I'll step out. Oh, but I need to pause and play.
Yeah, because
Then we're not very closed.
it's just a quiet.
Kind of our first step is just an introduction of the negotiating team. And so we'll kind of just work our way around. Brian Varsky, I'll be the spokesman today for the School Board of Education.
Randy Goodberg, Superintendent.
Judy Engelbertson, board member.
Joan Ensign, board member.
Allie Dye, Director of Services. Don Heinrichs, board member.
Steve Summers, Executive Director of Operations.
Todd Shuka, teacher at the high school.
Gina Pagel, I teach at Arboretum.
John Wedge, on with MEAC.
Nick Sager, I teach at the intermediate school.
Brian Misher, High School.
Erin Schrader, high school.
Ashley Taylor, I'm at the intermediate school.
So our next step is just to exchange the initial proposals and got the proposal from the board. I only made one copy, but no.
Should be.
Oh, I was trying to be green. I apologize. As I guess for openness and sharing, the board is proposing a base wage increase of 4.12%.
Brian, can I ask what that calculates as far as base wage?
For equal distribution.
Yep.
$2,874. I guess, is there anything at this point that you would like to highlight within your request?
So our proposal is for a base wage increase of 4.2%. CPI also equates to a $2,874 increase on the base wage.
So always good when I'm at.
Aye.
Hearing that,
Just the rounding, I was not, too certain about, but
hearing that, I will prepare just an initial preliminary agreement that Joan can sign on behalf of the board, and then we sign that for the WTA.
just to clarify, we are also assuming full salary schedule implementation.
And that is the intent of the board as well, as is what we have worked on. The preparation of the budget.
Excellent.
Yeah. Joan or Randy or any other members, is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
I just appreciate being able to do this in a collaborative fashion and, all your willingness to work with us. So,
And we appreciate the same, especially the dedication to continuing to keep with the fidelity of the salary schedule and also the work that's been done to, I guess, fortify budget situations that we can do this without, too much of a hassle. So it's great.
The intent is for the board to take action on their half at the May board meeting. And then we in the past, you have been able to quickly kind of work with your mothership to get their input.
Yep, session. Yeah, we should have ratification later.
With that, guess we didn't follow our agenda and didn't go into closed session to negotiate. We negotiated in open, but we negotiated efficiently. So with that, we do have an opportunity to transition to the next step of the agenda, which is the meet and confer portion of the meeting. Seeing that the only employees here are those that are with your group, I will let you lead that process.
It's different.
No, I'll have to. You want me to give you public shows, I'll be through that. You don't need to call me.
You sent me electronic copy.
Can I clarify that was like an electronic copy?
Otherwise,
From us.
I'll scan it and send it to
Wow.
her. So if you could send it to me, that'd be save me a step.
Sure.
But great, thank you.
So okay, with you guys, we'll just kind of walk through these points by point by point.
So our first topic is surrounding teacher recruitment and retention. And again, a lot of this has been already met with our initial discussion, but in addition to the negotiated base wage, the WTA anticipates that the Board of Education will continue to fully implement the new teacher compensation system for the 24-25 school year. Again, continued implementation of that will assist us in fortifying educator faith in the system's fidelity. So again, I think it's really important for recruitment and retention that that system gets implemented as desired. The second piece there is just, again, the need for increased focus on addressing staff morale and climate concerns. We have the staff climate survey each year, but again, we want to make sure that we continue to focus on those and then address any issues that we see.
Just related to that, interested in your feedback, that process of timing, in that October timeframe, and then giving it an opportunity for buildings to create specific action plans. Has that been something that you found has been helpful in the process of addressing some of those concerns?
I would say that the timing makes a lot of sense. The timing of the follow-up has varied pretty greatly between buildings and just the manner in which they're collaborating with staff in order to come up with a plan and prioritize work based on that has varied. So some consistency there would be, I think, appropriate.
Number two, continue collaboration through the teacher HR work group, facilitate continued improvement. This is language that's been used for developing the current salary schedule. And so these are some items that we want to continue to address to continue to see if there are ways to improve transparency and clarity for those that are operating with it. One of the ways that we looking to help with that clarity is currently within the handbook, there is not necessarily a delineated ladder, if you will. And recognizing that that's going to be different for different teachers depending upon their professional development points that they learn and apply to that. But is there a way that we could create something that at least gives the understanding of what their max might look at, might look like over a certain number of years? And again, recognizing that there is not a defined top to the schedule. Making sure that all of that is clearly spelled out in that, but I think it would go a long way to helping people understand kind of the process, and also for our newer teachers being onboarded to look and see, okay, if I keep working at this, I can be here, I can be there after 10 years, after 20 years. Which if we are going to try and keep them and retain them, we want them to have a positive outcome where they are headed. We also want to, and I don't know if this is going to be something that we can work on in terms of collecting information about the way that the points bank is being, if there are improvements we could make to how we relay the information of what points are in each individual's bank. Are there ways that we can improve that? And if that is that we get some survey information, are there improvements that we have that staff maybe has thought of or would like more information on? Could we do that as well? Likewise with the electronic point submission, I think it's been streamlined over what some of us have been around for a while. Read carbon copies, send it all to the district, it's their type of situation. But are there improvements that we can make? And then continuing, I know that we've done a lot of work with this, but continuing to proactively look through our teaching staff for any inequities that may get them specifically relating to circumstances around a couple of years when there was not movement either on the salary schedule or limited movement on the salary schedule. And then to continue the practice that we started last year in terms of establishing a calendar of meetings for the teacher HR work group and also the insurance committee. Greatly appreciate it. I think that worked very well having that set in things.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, you know, being on those committees with the leadership group and others, I think that was a really great suggestion and improvement that we made together. So thanks for that. You know, and in terms of clarity, I think that I would, you know, perhaps we keep the conversation going of how that could be better visualized for folks. Because I think part of the intent when we created at least that language in the handbook was to make it pretty straightforward and certainly understand. Because I've had a couple of those conversations too about individuals looking for just how to best visualize that. And so maybe we continue to work together to find the best way for people to be able to see that. Yeah.
Okay, I have point 3, review of professional responsibilities and workload. And you can see the first point is about PLC time. And I think PLCs are well respected, and we're happy that the district has invested so much time and money into having and establishing PLC time. However, there are some inconsistencies from building to building about how and when teachers are able to meet. And so there's been some, I guess, staff want some designated PLC time. Like some buildings are able to provide their staff so that they're not giving up their prep times to meet as a PLC. And then we also have departments that are across buildings, and that's more difficult to chisel out that time within the day to meet. And then some are even meeting after contract hours. And so if that is a necessity, is there some compensation that can be provided to those groups that are needing to meet outside of contract hours? B, review of prep time, inequities, workload, and compensation inequities. This specifically is dealing mostly with our special education staff and interventionist roles. They're not necessarily guaranteed prep time. However, they would certainly benefit from prep time. I know I've spoken to some interventionists that are bringing that work home to do, which of course we all do, but since she doesn't have her prep times during the day, would it be possible to get, you know, like an overload type compensation? Anything to add to that point? And then finally is review of policies and procedures per, I can't do all your Ps, Gina. Policies and procedures pertaining to the improvement plan, just making sure that there's consistency between the buildings about how it is handled when staff are placed onto improvement plans. Perhaps we can kind of delineate a procedure to follow.
And perhaps review best practice in other districts and just make sure that we're supporting growth as the improvement plan speaks up.
Building off of that last point, is that something that you've seen a model or see? Some, have heard that there are districts that we could reach out to specifically?
No, not that we have talked about, but I'm sure that it's something that we would like to look into with you.
I'm just gonna say, I think it's important, correct me if I'm wrong, where this might be delineated, but having universal goals for a plan improvement like that, it's attainable, it addresses the deficiencies that have been identified, and that it's best practice. And I think the rest of it takes care of itself then. Although, again, consistency, case to case, building to building, not that obviously they're all going to be different, but those supreme goals of what it's supposed to be doing, I think are super important to keep in mind.
I think that, really both of these topics would fit well with our, some of the things that we had identified that we addressing and looking at next year and conversing about in the teacher HR and work group. I think we hold nicely with those topics.
Yep, I agree.
We also ask for continued prioritization of two-way communication with staff. We appreciate all of the efforts that you have made, Randy, in recent years, as well as the continued work that Annie Blackburn has done to help facilitate strong communication, and we just would like to have that continue. We would like, specifically when it comes to committees, we've had some conversation in the past before about clarity of who serves on committees. This year we have some additional asks about communicating when groups are meeting, and clear delineation of what it means to be a member of the committee, as well as open communication with staff as a whole about goals, as well as outcomes in that committee work. We are grateful that, many of us serve on committees, but we do find that there's often a disconnect between the rest of the staff and those who serve on committees. And we're just hoping to seek ways to better communicate about what's happening there so that those people who serve can truly be representatives of the staff.
I would add to that too. I don't know that we've done the greatest job either of on this end of being able to communicate to everyone. And maybe it's something where, like, we sat down and put together a meeting schedule, maybe we can collaborate on a message that goes out to the staff. Maybe from both parties that, hey, we've got this meeting coming up. If you've got questions, find this person, that person, more forward and on to.
And I mean, I guess if we're looking for a model there, it's still in the works, but the staff, the EI steering committee is trying to figure out how to better do that. So we can certainly talk about the details of what's working and not about that as a starting point. And then just, at the completion of the review of, policy at the board level, we're, hoping that, and Brian, you've already kind of agreed to this, but we just wanted to make sure, that there's communication about, what the changes mean for, staff and what is expected of us.
Yeah, I think that would be something that I would be very interested in continue to make sure that messaging is helpful, and then also there's helpful in terms of being able to be concise and thorough, but also in terms of the best way to communicate that out to so here.
And then with regard to the EEI steering committee that Jan mentioned, some of the last point being to support the efforts of that committee and making sure that the number one, that we prioritize the work that's being done there, that we definitely provide the support to staff in implementing it. I think also just making it a true commitment to it throughout all levels of the district, from the board down to this is what we need to do as a district for the better of all of our students, and then in particular for our students of color that are affected. And so just kind of making sure that maybe like having a discussion about, knowing that as staff members that in, moving in this direction, that we are all doing it together and that we have the full support of administration and of the board in doing this work based off of all of what the steering committee has come up with things.
I'll just say that there's every intent to keep a subcommittee at the board level, so that as the steering committee comes back with anything that may be actionable at a board level, that we will hear that and make those recommendations to the board. Equally committed to helping all students. I think that there will be a halo effect of the efforts of the DEI committee that transcends just the focus group of marginalized students, but will help everyone be better humans when they come out of our school system. So yes, that commitment is there.
I think that, and that's good. I think that, like Gina and I are both on the committee. We're right now communicating with our staff, like, okay, here's what we're doing, what we're looking to do. And I think so being able to communicate across, like, here, we are all doing it, we're all working towards this would be, I think, a huge message for staff on this. So I think so that's great to hear.
Are there any questions? That's
No, I think it's more just like making sure that like it would be a good thing to like kind of all together just be like, hey, we're all, the board's doing this, we're doing this, we're all moving in this direction. So
Yeah, I mean, I might add that this year, I know that one of the early things that you prioritized was kind of having clarity in timeline and who is accountable and those types of things. And so I think members of the steering committee have noticed that goals are still quite general, even though this room is full of people who are committed to taking on their piece. So I think just continuing to push forward progress and continuing to ask questions like you have been about timeline and just holding ourselves accountable for making the change that needs to be made.
I think that's obviously another great example of how leadership can help in a multitude of different directions in the district, and should. Is there, opportunity as we work through the list? Is there anything that any member of the board, or Randy, would like to share as we?
I'll let anybody else here go first, otherwise I guess that's something before we adjourn.
Well, as I look at your list and we just finished our, kind of our self-evaluation and our evaluation of the priorities that we set last year as we kind of conclude this year and look at bringing on new leadership and heading into a summer retreat where we again address priorities for the following year. This is kind of it. I can say wholeheartedly that the discussion we had last week and the list that you've provided are very, very similar in what we think will be our direction as we begin the work with the new superintendent. Thank you.
So, I mean, I was thinking back to, first of all, just thank you. I mean, this is my last time I get to sit in negotiations, so. That's a celebratory piece, I guess. But when I think back to, we used to remember sitting with Todd and Jay Farnsworth and Steve and Connie Duff, and we'd be working in what's now the TLC building, used to be the admin building, working through kind of those contracts. I mean, Todd, you were president during the whole Act 10 piece, and we had to work closely together during some challenging pieces. So you took over the leadership in the middle of it. John, I think you've been here the whole time that I've been here, and I know that we've worked through things together. And I think the collaborative spirit of working with everyone and just how I think we're better together is a piece that's really been kind of part of the culture in Waunakee. I've had the great opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with Dr. Brown as she's transitioning here. I think you'll find her to be a very approachable and collaborative person. I mean, you'll see that when she arrives, but my experience with her in conversations as we work through the transition has been very smooth, and I feel that she'll be a great fit to work with everybody. She's not looking to make huge changes walking in, but she will observe and listen and wants to get to know people. And I think that's a great approach. And I think some of the things that you've had here are things that we'll pass on to her as she makes her transition. But as I kind of exit out, I just want to say thank you for the time that I've been here and for the work that we've been able to do. I think we've hopefully made the place a better place than when we started. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy, I think that has accomplished our agenda today.
Well, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done.